Hello again. This is the course of Information System Development, and as you already learned in the previous video, we are dealing with Django interaction with DB, which is about their database. And for this video, we are going to continue with the next subsection, which is related to the data access. So we already learned how to make the table, how to make the table in the SQLite, and then how can we show the table into the tree in the PyCharm environment. And after you have the table, you need to understand how can we access the data. So there are a few ways to access the data. So I would like to discuss the first two ways for accessing the data. In Python, they have what we call as the Python shell. And if you are learning about the database, you may understand about the structured query language, SQL. So these two ways of the data access is a little bit different. If you are using the Python shell, it uses the Python code to access the data. And this Python code can be used in the view and the template. So you already know the concept about MVD, okay, the model, view, and template. If you're using the SQL, the structured query language, it uses the SQL language in accordance to the database tool. So if you are using the MySQL, the SQL, the language might be a little bit different with the Oracle. So if you understand the concept of English, okay, in English, there are also some variants. For example, if you use the British English, it might be a little bit different with the American English. So those kind of things also happen in the programming languages, such as the SQL. So when you use the SQL, it can be used in the view, but it needs to be translated into the template. Okay, so because the template may not understand the structure of the languages, so you need to translate it again to a particular language for the template. Let's say this template is using the Django, so they need to be translated into the Python language. So the step will be longer, and I guess it will be better if you just stick on the Python shell rather than the SQL. But if you think that SQL is much better for you, then that's also fine. Yeah. But for this chapter, I will just do it the Python shell for the easy understanding for the next data access and the query. If you want to know about the SQL things, okay, you can also use this SQL script in the database. Okay? And if you go to the database, there will be a SQL script and you can open the source editor. Let's say if I go to this one, okay, so yeah, we have this SQL. You can open this and you can see this SQL script. There's a source editor, yeah, and then you can just create the SQL language as we are going to select star. Star means you want to select everything from the, for example, new post question. Okay. So if you know, this is the database, this is the table that you just created on the models. So if you run, okay, then it will try to search the table. So we have no data, then of course it is black. So we are going to learn more about this query, but of course, as I explained before, I will not use the SQL. Instead, I will use the shell. So how can we open the shell? Okay, I will use the manage.py. Okay, so we already have the manage.py. You can run again with the tools. Okay, from the tools you have the run manage.py. So you can fetching the Django commands one more time, okay? And then here you can open the shell. Okay, once you open the shell, it will open the shell in the separate window. So you can have the Python console here. So yeah, so when you open the Python console in the bottom part, so you can see there's a Python console. So when you open this Python console, yeah, it shows like what we have this one. And yeah, this is the shell environment. for this data access. Okay, so let's do one by one. Okay, for this example, you already know this code. This is the one by one code, so I will just do one by one. You can also do the same thing. You can just copy and paste from this PPT, and yeah, you need to put here. So the first line is to get the question and choice. So we have the question and choice and the class of the models. Okay, so we make the class question and make the class choice in the models.py. So this is to import those two classes in the shell. And after you have the shell here, you can just open this one. For example, I want to do the questions.object.all. So from the question table, I would like to know the objects, and I just want to select all. Okay, just press enter. And okay, the query set empty. It means there is no data inside of this question table. So if you want to, let's say I want to create a new question, and because the data, the table itself, it contains a time zone. So you just need to copy and paste this one. It means I want to get the, I want to use the time zone. This is the time zone packages in the Django utils. So if you run this, then yeah, it imports the time zone function or the time zone class in this Django.utils. And then, yeah, let's say I'm going to make one new object. So the Q is a new object, and it is based on the table question. And let the question text, this is the question text, is one of the attribute. That's question text is what's new, and the publication date, it is the time zone now. So the current time. Okay. So the current time here, let's say if I press enter this one, then you will see, okay, so you still not see the information, but before you get those information, you need to save it. Okay, so you can just q.save. So using this q.save, the object will be saved into your database. So you can access your data by using the q.id, q.questiontext, and q.pubdate. Okay. So if you check what is q.id, okay. So don't use the bracket, okay, because it's different. We are not going to access the function, but we are going to access the attribute of the data. So ID will be one of the generated number. So as I mentioned to you in the PPT, in the previous PPT, you know that maybe I will just I will go back a little bit. Yeah. So last time I already mentioned that when you are doing with the this last time, no, this, yep, this one. So the primary key in the SQLite is the integer primary key auto increment. So if you create one object, then the ID will be created automatically with the integer value 1. If you create another object, then it will create another value 2. Okay, so it will be auto increment. And you may ask why we can get the ID even though we don't create it. Okay, so yeah, basically we don't have the ID here, but the table itself has their own ID. So that's why we can access, and this is the ID 1. If you want to access the other, which is a question text, okay? So you can just access this one without the parentheses. So just delete the parentheses, because if you do with the parentheses, then it will go to error. Because when you do the parentheses, it means you're accessing the method, not accessing the data. Okay. So for example, if you're accessing the with parentheses, okay, you can check this one. Yeah. So it's error because no object with that one. And then, yeah, I want to know the publication date, the pub date. Okay. So again, you don't need to do with parentheses. Yeah, it is auto text from the Django. You don't need to follow that one. So if I, this one, yeah, this is the time. So it's 2020, April 14, and yeah, 6:40, yeah, and so on. So if you want to, let's say I want to change. Yeah, I want to change the value. I want to change the question text to WhatsApp. So yeah, I just want to change this one WhatsApp. Okay, and after I change this to WhatsApp, then I again need to save it. Okay, so because we are going to save is a function. That's why we need to use the parenthesis. Okay, the parenthesis is required. After you save this, then you will see. Yeah, let's see if I want to check all the objects. Okay, so the question dot objects dot all. Okay, so you were okay. So now we have one object. So the number of object is one. So one is representing the ID. Okay, we have the ID one. So the first stage in this data access, you learn how can we create the data with this of the Python shell. You can save and you can check the ID. ID is automatically generated when you create the object. The question tags and the pub date is the attributes in your class. So it depends on the attributes that you created. Of course, it's not automatically based on the Python, but it's based on the user. So when you design your database, so you know that attributes, and you can just type the attributes in order to see what is the value. And if you want to change the value inside those attributes, then you need to understand what is the data type. If the data type is a string or a character, then you can just change with another character. If the attribute is integer value, then you can just change with the integer value. Okay. So if you want to check from the SQL, okay, the one that you already learned before, you can go to this DB and then you can just go to the SQL script again. You can go to the SQL editor and then you can just press the start button. Okay, so you can see now there is one row, ID1, WhatsApp, and then the publication date. And this date is 14 April and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Or if you want to do the very visualize thing, you can just access the schema. Okay, so you can see we have the choice and we have the question. So here you can just double click. Okay, yep, you can see the data in the table like this one. So using this environment, it will be very easy for you to understand the data in your database. The next thing that you may need to know is how to connect to the Django admin. What is the Django admin? In the Django, you can be considered as an admin. And using the admin, you can just deal with the models in very convenient. So the user, it means you can be the admin and you need to use the admin page. Sorry. In order to create the admin page, you need to be a super user. So what is super user? So you're a general, for example, if I'm a general user and yeah, I want to access the data. Of course, I cannot access the data. So the user who has the access should be a super user or someone who can handle all the access. So we call it as a super user. Since you need to create a super user manually, you need to do the creation at the command prompt. So you cannot do with PyCharm. Maybe you can do it one, but in most of the time, it will be very good if you do with the command prompt. So for now, I'm going to teach you this one. This is your project, okay? So I'm not sure where is your path to your project, but I would like to share to you. So you can just click right click on your project, and then you can see there's one show in Explorer. Okay, you can just click show in Explorer. So it opens the projects in your computer, and then now this is the folder. Okay, so you can double click. Okay, this is the folder that I created, I use for this projects. Okay, this is the information that I showed you, show in Explorer. And after you have this, okay, you can see the manage.py. Okay, this is the file that we are going to access later. So just copy and paste this one. So this is the path. This is the path that you can use to access the manage.py. So after you have this one, so copy this one. Okay, so you can just like this and copy. And after you copy, you can go to the command prompt. So I'm not sure what is the prompt environment that you use, but in my case, I use the Anaconda prompt. If you're using the Anaconda as the same as me, then you can use the Anaconda prompt. You click this one, and then you can just go to the directory. You need to put the CD. CD means change directory, and then paste the project folder in your command prompt. And after you have this one, then you can just press enter, and then do the things that I explained in this slide. So first, you can type the Python manage.py create super user. So just Python manage.py create super user. Now there will be a questions. Okay, what is your username that you want to create? Let's just make an admin. Okay, and then after you create the admin, they will ask you email address. Actually, this email address is required if you forgot your password. So they will send the password to your email address. So let's assume that you don't need this email address. So just give any email address, admin.example.com. Okay, you can also put your email address, but for now, let's just skip this one. So I just make a very, I think it's a fake email address. Okay, yeah, I will do this one and password. Okay, it requires the password. Let's say I just give 1234. It will be very easy password, but because I am not publishing this to public, so I don't care with this simple password 1234. Yeah, so you can see, right? So if your password is very weak, it will show you that the password is too short. It should contain at least 8 characters, command, and it is entirely numeric. So it's very easy. Then they will ask you whether you want to proceed with this way. If you just yes, okay, then it will create the admin successfully. So if you later, if you publish your website in internet, then you need to consider this one. Okay, so please remember that you need to have a good password for this issue. And after you have this, okay, after you have this one, then now let's run your Django. Okay, let's run your Django, and after you do this one, okay, now I will run this. Yeah, it takes some time to run, and then yep, you have this one. Yeah, because this is the first, so it's different with the previous example about the template. Now you need to go to the admin page. Okay, what is the admin page? Yeah, it shows the Django administration. Now enter the username that you just created with the super user. So you have the admin, and then what is the password? I enter the password 1234. So yeah, now you are in the page of the administrator. So you can have the groups and you can have the users. Okay, so this is the authentication and the authorization. You can manage the person who can handle your website and etc. And after you have this one, then yeah, this is the admin page. Maybe your question is, where is your data? Okay, you already have the question and you have already the choice, but you cannot see where is your data for the admin to see or to access. So for this purpose, okay, we need to tell the admin that the question objects have an admin interface. So you need to make a new file, which is the admin.py, and it will be something like this one. Okay. So create admin.py in the folder new polls. So you can just copy and paste this one, and you can go to the new polls and then create a new Python file. Okay, and you can make an admin. Okay, so this is the admin page, and then copy and paste. Paste this one. Okay, and after you have this, you need to refresh. Okay, so I will just do again, run the db for db example. Maybe, yeah, just stop and rerun. Okay, so after you rerun this one, okay, let's see. Yep, you can get this one, and then if you go to the home, yep, you can see there's a question. Okay, so if you click the question, there is one object, and this one object is, okay, the question is WhatsApp, and the date published was 14 April 640 something. Okay, maybe you will ask, oh, why just only questions appear in this example? Then because you just have the question. Yeah. So if you want to do with the other, then you need to put the choice. Okay. So here is the choice, and you can put, yeah, in this statement, I want to contribute into the admin, and this is from the models, and you want to import a question and the choice. So you have two classes, okay, the question class and the choice class. And in order to register into the web, so you need to register the class name. So here I register question and I register the choice. So once you have this one, again, you need to stop and rerun. Okay, and after you have this, okay, let's see again in the web. So you can refresh. Yeah, you can see the choice. Now it's available in this web. Okay, so yeah, that's all for this admin. If you know that when you do with this stuff, okay, and you do this with this stuff, this is the admin side. You can just log out, okay, and then you can log again the admin, and this admin in the admin page. Okay, so admin, if you make your own web later, you need to understand how to put the packages. Okay, so if your packages, last time we have the polls, so everything is related to the polls, you can just put here polls like this one, and then it will show what are the contents, what are the template in the for the polls. And also you can, yeah, if you are dealing with the admin, you want to access the data, then you will use this Django administrator. You can access again, and then you can see the site of administrator. And of course, this is only related with one. Okay, this is only related with the one package, which is new polls, and it is recommended if you create this application, or you can say this is the application, because you just set on this setting with the new polls. So this new polls is only the application related to the DB. So when you create the DB, it is important if you just put into one folder. Okay, and then if you have another view and another template, it will be recommended if you can put in another folder. So for this video, I'm just explaining about the DB, and for later we will discuss how we can combine the DB and the other view and the other template. So for the next video, I will give you more explanation how can we do with the SQL and how can we do with the shell in order to combine those two tables. Now we are just using the question, but we are going to learn how can we put more information on the choice, but the data should be connected with the question. Okay. Yeah, I think I will finish the video for this chapter until now, and please wait for the next video. And for the next subsection, I guess I will do the real-time class. Okay, so please check on the time, and I hope that you follow the lectures clearly. So thank you very much for listening. See you on the real-time class.